We have a little over a month to go before the latest entry in the Final Destination franchise hits theaters on May 16th, 2025. Final Destination Bloodlines will finally be watched. A much anticipated sequel. I'm a big fan of the Final Destination franchise, so I wanted to go back and rewatch the entire franchise and share my thoughts, takes, and opinions on each film leading up to the release of Final Destination Bloodlines or Final Destination 6. Really excited to dive into this franchise because I never actually spoke on our podcast or on YouTube about it, so I wanted to kind of share my thoughts and kind of about each film, and then eventually lead to my culmination of some rankings. I would like to do a top 10 deaths in the franchise. Of course, I would like to rank every film in the franchise from worst to best too. But we are here today to talk about the very first film, celebrating its 25th anniversary, Final Destination, directed by James Wong, and has a pretty good young cast of familiar faces, led by Devon Sawa, who plays Alex Browning, the kid that does have the premonition that Flight 180 is going to not make its way to Paris, but will explode shortly after takeoff. We also see Larter show up, Kerr Smith, Amanda Detmer, Seann William Scott, and also Todd makes a cameo appearance here. Before I start diving into what I really love about Final Destination, I would like to hear your guys' thoughts, takes, and opinions down in that comment section, and make sure you guys slash that subscribe button to more movie conversations like this, because you don't want to miss what's coming up next for Final Destination conversations. It's been several years since I watched Final Destination, and to remind everyone watching at home, the film does follow Alex Browning, a young man who is traveling to Paris with his classmates and his friends and his fellow students, and before they take off, he has this terrifying vision of the timely demise of everybody on board the flight. He freaks out. Him and a bunch of his friends get kicked off the plane, and one teacher, of course, and of course, to their, terrifying reality, shocking reality, is that plane still does take off and explodes shortly after takeoff. And while they are happy to be alive, they are still heartbroken by the loss of everybody on board. And a month after the timely crash, death is knocking on each and every one of their doors. What makes the Final Destination franchise so fun to watch and experience is the over-the-top nature of the kills. And the more you watch horror films, you know there's going to be like a mass killer or a psychotic person trying to kill people. In this franchise, that doesn't come to play whatsoever. The victims are primarily teenagers, and they're being hunted down by death itself. And the kills can come fast and can happen at any moment. And sometimes the kills have really amazing setups. And I think the franchise has done a really good job from this very first film, setting the precedent of what is to be expected in later entries in the franchise. Of course, we see several different types of kills in this first film. 2 kills primarily come really fast in Terry's and Billy's kill, where you blink and you miss it, and they are very comedic. They break up a lot of the tension in the movie, and has a kind of a chuckling sensation when you do watch it, because they just happen so quickly, and you couldn't help but laugh. And I know that's what happened when I was watching it this time around. However, some kills do take a little longer to develop, and they start building that tension, and that sense of doom and dread is coming for the characters. And that's what happens with Todd and their teacher, Valerie Luton. Todd's kill is one I want to talk about here. It's the first kill we see after the big plane crash, and I think it's done really well. It's set up in the bathroom, and the setup is kind of cheesy, and the guy's he's looking at his things. I should shave, and I should pick the nose hairs out and stuff. And little do you know, there's some water dripping, and the water changes directions when he changes, and he gets strangled to death. It's pretty gruesome. It comes across really quick in nature, and it's also like a good setting stone for the rest of the kills in the franchise too. Valerie Luton's another death that we should talk about too, because it's the other big set piece in the movie here, where her death has a lot of different moving parts, and I think it changes a couple times based off her movements in her house, where her inevitable demise is that she does bleed out and she has like a bunch of knife wounds in her chest, and her house does explode too. So she's dead for sure. And while the kills are really fun and entertaining and trying to figure out who's going to be killed off next, I think what's even better sometimes in this franchise is seeing the mystery unravel and have the characters try to figure out who's next and then be proven wrong immediately. I think that's really fun, and I think sometimes it's a good like kind of comedic timing, because the filmmakers are trying to keep one upping and try to keep a little bit ahead of the audience as they were watching as well, and as well as the characters. Of course, we have to have really fun characters, and I think an actor who does a really good job in the franchise, and an actor I think of when I think of his body work, I think of this franchise. So Devon Sawa only showed up in the first film as Alex Browning, but I've been a big fan of his horror films, and I loved Idle Hands. I think we reviewed that film last year. Check out the pinned comment in the comments section. I'll leave our review for Idle Hands there if you're interested. Take a look at that. But Devon Sawa is a really fun actor, and even though he only appeared in this one film in the franchise, you can't help but think about him in the entirety of the franchise there as well. Ali Larter also shows up as Clear Rivers, and I think she does a really good job here. She's probably one of the better actresses in this franchise, and while the acting isn't great from all the actors in the film, I think as a whole they all play their parts rather well. One of the glaring things I couldn't help but think about when I was watching this film is Seann William Scott plays Billy here, and it's interesting to see him because this film is from 2000. The year before, in 1999, Seann William Scott played Stiffler in American Pie. He was a big douchebag and crazy character in that, over-the-top character in American Pie. However, in this film, he's being bullied by Carter, played by Kerr Smith, and Seann William Scott is a completely different character than Stiffler was. And it's so hard to see, if the big drastic change, because when I see Seann William Scott, the first person I think of is Stiffler, so it's really hard to see anybody else. So when you see, air quotes, Stiffler being bullied, it's kind of hard to believe, and it's just completely different than anything else. Seann William Scott's funny in this movie. He definitely has some Stiflerisms in the franchise. He kind of puts them in there. It's kind of hard to break, because I think Stiffler is so much more of like Seann William Scott. So seeing a little bit of that character in this film, it's fun to see. While I do really enjoy this movie, I think is a subplot in here where the FBI is investigating the explosion. They really think that Alex Browning may had something to do with it. They're investigating the premonition theory, and we know they didn't blow up a plane, but him appearing at everybody else's deaths at their houses or something like that kind of tips off the FBI agents. And the FBI agents, man, that whole subplot is really weird. They completely are in a different movie, and I think especially Detective Shrek, it's crazy name too. Why is he Detective Shrek? The two actors who play Agent Wayne and Agent Shrek are Daniel Roebuck and Roger Genevieve Smith, and they're fine as these quirky FBI agents. However, they're just chasing down Alex. That's the only time where that kind of subplot happens in this franchise, and it does take me out a little bit of the franchise, of the film. I just want to see them try to tackle death, try to figure out death. But we have this investigation where Alex could be arrested because they think he did it, and it makes sense that they're looking at it. But it's just every time I watch it, I never really cared for those characters, and it's kind of just whatever for me. Get back to the deaths. Get back to the fun moments we do have for the characters trying to figure stuff out. One of my favorite moments in this first film is the appearance of Mr. Bloodworth, Tony Todd's character, the mysterious coroner, the guy who's working at the morgue or the cemetery, the crematorium, whatever you want. He pops up several different times in the franchise, but Tony Todd's presence on the screen is haunting. It's you can't help to be kind of intimidated when you see him, aka Candyman, being on the big screen. That deep voice of his delivering the lines like, "You can't cheat death," or "I'll see you soon." Like that is just an iconic voice, and Tony Todd is amazing. All these reviews, of course, are going to be in remembrance of Tony Todd because he has passed away last year. Tony Todd, one of the amazing horror icons there too. So every time he was on screen in this franchise has to be one of my favorite moments, and I can't help but think about the amazing career of Tony Todd. I do want to talk about James Wong, who directed this first film here. He only has 4 film credits that he directed on his resume here, the others being Final Destination 3, the one starring Jet Li, and Dragon Ball Evolution, which just was voted one of the worst movies of all time until Snow White came out a couple weeks ago. I think James Wong does a pretty good job directing this movie, and I think he directs one of my favorite films in the franchise in the third film as well. We'll check that out, revisit a little bit later. I don't know what this guy is not doing anymore. Like, I think he has a really good tone to make really good horror films that are pleasantly effective, and there's some really cool kills that he's able to set up here. Obviously, he gets more extravagant in the third film, and I think some of those kills are even some of the best in the franchise. But these first ones are really effective for the smaller scale film, the kind of like the first entry of the film. You're not trying to blow the world away, but you're just like making something super effective. And I think it does a really good job here. I'm curious what happened to this director here, because you don't really see any. Obviously we haven't seen anything since 2003. No, 2009, where he did Dragon Ball Evolution. I think I just answered my own question, though. That film was panned by critics and audience members alike, so maybe that has something to do why he's not making films today. Go back to horror. I think you can revitalize your career pretty well there and do something pretty effective. So who knows if we'll ever see him pop back up directing movies again. But this first film is rather effective, and I'm really looking forward to diving more into the franchise as we go along. I have a special guest coming on one of the episodes, and again, I'm looking forward to ranking every franchise and the kills and as well. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys thought about Final Destination, this very first film. What's your favorite kill? What's your favorite moment? Let me know down there. Let's discuss, and make sure you guys... You know what? I'm having a premonition. I do think you guys are going to subscribe and follow for more. This is going to be a fun conversation over the next month to talk about all these films. So make sure you guys join the conversation. Until next time, I will see you in the next one.